An easy way to find out why polymorphism matters is to try to live without it. Take this class as an example. There is nothing polymorphic in it. I will now implement a customer's request twice to demonstrate how a polymorphic method can impact code complexity and size. The request is to implement a query, but not a simple one. This class defines a book, and the book has a collection of authors. The class is anemic and violates a handful of rules of good class design, but let's not spend time on that. Focus on the request to query all the books authored by a particular author. That should be easy. I plan to use the author's ID to filter the books. The trouble is in the rest of what the customer has requested. We need to sort the books by publication date so that recent books appear before the older ones. That will quickly get out of hand. So here is the plan. First, implement the feature on top of this model. That part will hurt. Then introduce polymorphism to the model. You might not see the purpose as I do it, but everything should click when I re-implement the query to utilize the polymorphic class. And for the most tenacious viewers only, I will share a link to let you learn more for free at the sponsor of this video. Brilliant! Ready to go? Here we begin. Asking for the publication date leads us to the other model, the publication info class. It tells whether the book is published or planned for publishing and when exactly. The book might be published and have this date non-null, or planned for publishing with or without a known date. A book with a null date should come first in the sort order because that is probably the author's most recent work. But even when the date is set, it might be incomplete. That is why I called its class partial date. Welcome to the tar pit of real-world projects. Your task is to cope with the imperfections of reality. It is yet another anemic domain model that only consists of primitive types and defines no behavior whatsoever. This data clump tells us how to understand the date value. You can learn about data clumps from my prior video. Actually, this video is a part of a series. You can find the links to all the videos in the series in the description. The point is that some parts of a date might not be specified for a book. The year 2027, May 2020, or a full date are all valid publication dates for a book. Can you sort books by that? Oh, implementing this query will be a wild ride. This is the class that defines the services on books. A few services are defined here already. A new one will get books from the database and sort them from newest to oldest, receiving the author's ID. So we begin. Get hold of the books DB set first. I'm using Entity Framework Core in this project. A solution using Dapper would follow a similar path. Filter the books by the author. I must ask if any author matches the argument. Then I pull the data from the database. There is no way to sort the books at this stage because the date is defined so strangely that it would be a nightmare to analyze it in a SQL query. I will calculate a date for every book separately after the base query. By the customer's request, if the book has no publication date, I will put it far into the future so that it appears first in the output. Then my struggle with the dates begins. This condition checks if the publication date is non-null and, if it is, captures it in a non-nullable variable called raw date. Now I extract the parts of the date. If the month is missing, I take January instead. If the day of the month is missing, I take the 1st instead. Now I have the first possible publication date regardless of whether some data were incomplete. You must cope with the incomplete data in whatever way works for the customer. We have a sorting date for every book. Let's sort them. First, I will zip the books together with the corresponding dates. The result is a sequence of book date pairs, each book coming with its date. Then we finally sort the books in descending order of dates. Poke the books out from the sequence, turn them into the list, return the list to the caller. The worst code of the month is written. Do you know what's wrong with this method? Everything is wrong. This calculation is a necessity because my class model offers no helping hand. I had to calculate and collect all the dates myself. Sorting is a cryptic yet necessary link expression, where in fact all I wanted was this. My greatest wish right now is to delete everything below this line of code. And I will, trust me. I will delete all this inflated code after the redesign, which I am just about to begin. Please be aware that you can download the complete source code before and after the redesign from my Patreon page. By becoming a patron, you are helping hundreds of other fellow programmers watch all the content on my channel for free. Now back to code. I have already spotted the culprit of the entire mess, the partial date class. The state of this class is a pure mess, and its methods are non-existent. Let's fix that by turning it polymorphic. This change has great significance. Polymorphic behavior occurs when a program can process data differently depending on varying conditions or types, allowing the same code to work with different kinds of data. Virtual methods are the principal implementation of polymorphism in object-oriented code. This class was doing the job of free classes, so it is an automatic candidate for an abstraction. A partial date can be full, consisting of an entire date. It might be a year with a month. The date it maintains privately is there for convenience. Lastly, the partial date can be just a year number. These few lines of code substitute all I had before. This entire clog of booleans and substitute values goes away. Will you appreciate it better this way? Possibly not, but that is only because this system of classes is still not doing anything. There are no methods. So let's begin. The request was to sort the books by the first date in the range specified by the partial date. If you have trained your eye to look for polymorphism and abstractions, you will surely grab the opportunity for an abstract member here. This property getter will return a definite date indicating when the partial date begins. Implementing such a method is next to trivial when every subclass does only one thing. The full date already knows this value. The year and month variant would poke out that private date it has because the date is the first day of the month, and the year-only variant will simply return January the 1st as the answer. While behavior itself is trivial, it may differ with every call to an object. That is precisely what we need. If you remember, my prior implementation made an effort to behave polymorphically by analyzing the data. This time the runtime will do all the branching for me and call the appropriate implementation. There is one more improvement to make before using the new feature. The publication info class exposes a nullable partial date. That is quite inconvenient for the caller. Nullable references always complicate the code that consumes them. Wouldn't it be nice if this class could resolve null instead, like getting the beginning of the publication as a definite non-null date? It would be necessary for the caller to supply a substitute date for the case when the object holds null. But then the implementation would be straightforward. Start from the nullable partial date object, try to obtain the calculated beginning date from it. Please note that this call is polymorphic. This method doesn't know how the date will be calculated. All it knows is that the date will be there if the publication date object is non-null. If it were null, however, the result would be a null date. We must substitute it with the argument to obtain a true non-nullable date. This is polymorphism at work. We can step into the service method and do it over again. The query for all books would end here. Remember that we cannot use the database query to sort the books because the date by which we sort is not part of the database. It is a heavily calculated value. However, with that polymorphic code implemented in the model class, sorting the books by the beginning of the publication period is nothing but a simple call to the order by descending link operator. Take each book and ask its publication info to supply us with the beginning date or take the date in the future if one is not available. Don't worry about the compile time error. I used to assign the result to a list, but now I have a dynamic sequence instead. That sequence I can return from the method. It's over. This is all the code you need to implement the requested query. Everything below this line is ready for deletion. Did I not promise to delete this code? Here it is, gone to meet its maker. If there is anything I love more than writing code, it is deleting code. One last touch is to turn the query into an expression, and my work here is done. How did I succeed in doing this? How did I turn the 20-line method into a single expression? It is through polymorphism. By combining two dynamic methods, the order by descending operator and the getBeginning method, I have managed to execute a complex operation without even knowing how. Here is an excellent point about polymorphism you should remember. I might not know which line of code will execute when I call a virtual method, but I know it will be the best line of code for the object I have. And the best part is that the overall length of the code I had to write is significantly less than what it used to be without polymorphism. This code is better and shorter at the same time. I will now give you advice for further learning at the sponsor of this video, Brilliant. You can start learning at Brilliant right now for free. Brilliant provides deep learning in specific areas of programming, engineering, and science. Brilliant recently launched a ton of new data science content, all of which uses real-world data to train you to see trends and make better informed decisions. You will find thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. Whatever area you choose, Brilliant helps build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, and honestly, it is fun. There is a full 30-day free of charge offer for you. Follow the link brilliant.org/Zoran Horvat, scan the QR code, or just click the link in the description. That will also give you a 20% discount on an annual subscription after the trial period, so please make sure to use this link to unlock the benefits. And watch other videos on my channel that will improve your object-oriented and functional programming skills.